welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Taheshah alongside Eric Chilton and Christian Morgan. Maddie has the day off. We are continuing to practice social distancing here. And remember, this is a two-way street, this 4 to 5 is. So be sure to chat with us on the WFMY News 2 live stream on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook.
All right, our top story today, stores at Friendly Center are boarding up their windows. We saw people were covering windows earlier at the Apple store and both at Williams-Sonoma as well. WFMY News 2's Alma McCarty is live at Friendly Center. Let's talk about why those stores boarded up the windows, Alma.
Well, Eric, Taheshah, there's a lot of questions about why these stores are boarding up. Again, like you said, I am here live at the Friendly Center. We know of 3 stores that have either boarded up or are currently doing so. Take a look, Williams-Sonoma. They have boarded up their windows and their doors. However, at this moment, they are open. Actually, if you take a look at the sign over there, you might not be able to read it, but it says, "We do not know why the Apple store is closed." That is another store that is just directly next to Williams-Sonoma, the Apple store. We do know for a fact that that is closed until further notice. We, again, are trying to figure out why exactly that is, but this store is closed. The Anthropology next to it has not boarded up. However, if you take a look a little further down this way, that store just beyond it is West Elm, and currently you see workers that are putting boards up to cover up the windows. This is something that we have seen a lot in downtown Greensboro, where a lot of the peaceful protest took a turn over the weekend. We do want to remind folks that there was no acts of violence or vandalism yesterday on day 3 of the protests. At this moment, we do not know whether there is some sort of protest planned for this area. However, it may be a precautionary deal. We are not going to speculate at this point. What we're here to do right now is just report the facts for you, report that at least 3 stores in the Friendly Center have boarded up. I spoke briefly to a woman who works at Pandora Jewelry. She said that they have not done this yet. So there may be some businesses who are taking extra precautions, others that are deciding not to. Again, we are just going to keep you abreast of this situation, but we can tell you right now, Williams-Sonoma, the Apple Store, and West Elm, all boarding up windows and doors. For now, I'm just going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
Groups across the Triad continue to assemble every day to stand up for what they believe in, and that continues today. Protesters will gather in Winston-Salem this evening. WFMY News 2's Marissa Tansino joins us live from downtown Winston-Salem. Marissa, what's the message there?
Hi there, Taheshah. Yeah, we are on 6th Street in downtown Winston-Salem. This is in between Liberty and Trade Street, and you can see some of the people here already starting to show up, even though this event doesn't start until 5. But the organizers say the goal here is to stand together, not only with people here, but across the nation, and send a message that they will no longer stand for racial injustice. Calvin Pena and Joshua Black brought this event together. They want everyone to keep in mind this will be a peaceful protest. They don't plan to leave this area here on 6th Street. There are speakers that plan to be here, and Pena says they have surrounding businesses involved. So after the protest, they want people to hang out, get something to eat and drink from some of the surrounding businesses. One of the reasons they are not marching, the organizers say, is because they don't want to take the chance that someone breaks a window or does something destructive. Now, I'll have Jeff take a look over to his left here at these 2 police officers that did just show up. We saw them get out of their car. Whether or not they're here to keep an eye on things or for another reason, we're not exactly sure, but we did just see them pull up, checking things out here. But again, the organizers say this is going to be a peaceful protest. They want meaningful actions of peace that will speak louder than destruction. They don't want that at all. And keep in mind, again, there is not yet a curfew in place in Winston-Salem. We did reach out to the Winston-Salem mayor, who says that they don't have anything in mind yet, but of course they can adjust accordingly if need be. So again, this event here starts at 5 o'clock. They're going to stay right here in this parking lot at 6th Street in between Liberty and Trade, and we will be sure to keep you updated on what's going on here as the evening goes on. For now, we'll send things back to you.
Marissa, thank you. Let's take a look at three things that you need to know today. A Greensboro Sheets employee tested positive for coronavirus. That's according to the company. The employee worked at West Wendover Avenue in that location there and has not worked since May 23rd. A company spokesperson says the store goes through daily cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting. There are also no plans to close the store. Meanwhile, in Forsyth County health officials say the county had 24 new COVID-19 cases and 1 new death since yesterday. The person who passed was in their late 70s with underlying medical conditions. The county is currently dealing with more than 1,400 total cases and 17 deaths. And we're getting a look at the people who were arrested in Greensboro for protesting and breaking curfew on Monday. Victor Barrios was charged for breaking curfew, and authorities believe he had a weapon of mass destruction on him called a Molotov cocktail. Troy Herring and Jet Chang was arrested for breaking curfew, and Malik Perry Davis was arrested after climbing the Nathaniel Green statue. He was charged with a curfew violation as well. All were released this morning.
Well, the most recent protests in Greensboro, for the most part, were peaceful. The protesters did gather outside the Greensboro Police Department. By the way, that was just after the curfew started around 8 p.m. Some also stood outside the International Civil Rights Center and Museum. Others walked along Elm Street. Police did warn the protesters they were in violation of curfew and asked them to leave or told them they could be arrested. The crowd did disperse from the downtown area.
All right, a few Triad cities, including Greensboro and High Point, have instituted curfews following a weekend of peaceful protests that turned violent. So they actually joined a number of cities across the country that have implemented those. I wanted to get your thoughts on the curfew, so I posted that on my Facebook page as my daily question of the day. Let's get into some of the comments. Robert Hall writes, great idea and should be enforced. And Alex writes, it's sad it has to get to that point, but when adults and teenagers can't follow basic instructions like don't destroy private property or don't hurt innocent citizens or don't take things that don't belong to you, measures have to be taken to maintain the peace. I know we have a number of comments on our live stream right now, people kind of voicing their opinions on both sides here, some for, some against. My question now really, since we don't know the answer to this, is how long do these curfews plan to be in place? Right now, City of Greensboro planning to keep it in place until they decide not to. Winston-Salem, you know, they don't even have a curfew over there.
It seems to me that, it's all about safety at this point. And then I think they'll have to get a gauge on things. We could talk to all the mayors of all the cities. And, this is happening all across the country. And it's a case-by-case basis whether they lift that curfew or not. But it's all in the name of safety.
Right, and even from city to city across the country, the times varying,
yes,
even in the same time zone. So definitely something to watch. All right, let's move on here to a story you may want to listen to. George Floyd's brother visited the area in Minneapolis where his brother, George Floyd, was killed. Terrence Floyd is his name. He thanked the crowd for taking a stand in his brother's name, but he also made a plea to them.
Terrence Floyd took a knee where his brother died. And then there was silence for several minutes. Surrounded by those who have spent the last 6 days coming to this sacred space to pay their respects to George Floyd.
Thank you for the love. Thank you for the flowers. Thank you for the memorials. Thank you.
Terrence spoke to the crowd.
Now before I go,
pleading with demonstrators to stop looting and destroying.
So if I'm not over here wilding out, if I'm not over here blowing up stuff, if I'm not over here messing up my community, then what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Y'all doing nothing, because that's not gonna bring my brother back at all. So let's do this another way. Let's do this another way. Let's stop thinking that our voice don't matter. That's right. And vote.
Adding he wants justice for his brother.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I want to see. Peace on the left. Justice on the right.
And finally, as people have been saying over and over again,
I just want to hear this again.
His name.
What's his name? George Floyd. What's his name? George Floyd. What's his name? George Floyd.
A very powerful message, you know, from Terrence, and it really broke my heart to just see the hurt in his face, you know.
You're not kidding. So that's the first time I had seen that. I haven't seen that video until just now, and that's probably some of the most moving words that I've seen so far. And how true is that? Violence doesn't fix anything, and what he's saying, and to hear, his own brother saying that, I mean, that's a big statement. That's a moving piece of video. That's probably the most moving video I've seen.
Right, and the message is clear. He stands for a nonviolent movement. If people are going to be out protesting in his brother's name, as he said, he appreciates that. He doesn't appreciate the violence as much.
It's interesting, too, that he said, and it's true, the biggest power that all of us hold is to vote whichever way you go, what you believe in, and anything in our society. Voting is your biggest power.
Right. In fact, there's actually a number of states that have primaries today in the midst of all of this. So I know there are a number of people going out there and getting their voices heard in that way.
All right, taking a look outside, it is starting to feel a little more like June today, especially a little more than it did yesterday. Temperatures are in the lower 80s across the area, but the one thing that you might have noticed is that our humidity levels are starting to creep up again. We have our dew points in the 60s, and a more clear picture of that is to take a look at where our dew points were yesterday at this time and compare them to where we are now. Our dew points are about 15 to 20 degrees higher than they were yesterday. So that's just a good indication that that humidity is coming back that we're normally accustomed to in the month of June. Not really going to have another cool night for quite some time. It'll be mild overnight in the mid-60s, and there will be a few clouds around tonight. For your Wednesday, we're warming up quite a bit into the upper 80s with lots of sunshine through a good portion of the day, but by tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, we'll see some extra clouds start to build in. We are forecasting our first 90-degree day for your Wednesday, and it would be the first one that we get in the Triad all of this year. Last time we were at 90 was October 4th in 2019. Have your full 7-day forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Coming up, with so much chaos and fear spreading across the globe, how do you talk to your children about such sensitive issues? I spoke with clinical psychologist Nanette Funderburk. Hear what she suggests next. Keep chatting with us. Let us know if you've had these difficult conversations with your kids in the live stream. We'll be right back. Police in riot gear, burning buildings, smashed glass, screaming protesters. These are the scenes we are seeing from protests across the country following the death of George Floyd. You know, it's a lot to process for adults, even more so for kids. So we've brought in Dr. Nanette Funderburk, a clinical psychologist, to explain how parents should start the conversation about protests and racism in America. Nanette, you know, I know this is a tough conversation to have, really, but why should parents not shy away from the topic?
Well, because the parents should not shy away because kids know that something is going on. They know that life is different. They already know that life was different because of COVID, and now things are shifting even more. They see that there are certain things on TV. They hear and see that parents are a little frustrated sometimes or having some heated conversations. So when children see changes but they don't know what's going on, it can increase anxiety in them.
So how do you start that conversation with your child? And I guess the conversation would vary, right, depending on the age.
Oh, absolutely. The conversation would vary depending on the age. But before you talk to your child, you want to make sure of where you are emotionally, because if you start to talk to your child and you have not addressed what's going on in you, you're going to kind of bleed all over them. And that's not going to help anybody in this process. So the first thing to do is check you to make sure that you're able to speak from a healthy place. Then yes, you definitely do want to be age appropriate. But first, after all of that, first you want to just ask them what they know, so that you can see what's in their head and hear what's in their head and their heart. Allow them to talk, and you can take some of your cues from the things that they're saying.
Right. So how can parents, you know, explain these uprisings in a way that doesn't condone violence, because we are seeing that across our screens, but, you know, it also doesn't minimize the sense of injustice that the people are out there protesting about?
Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to take it down to their level, so whatever that level is for the child, and help them to think about situations where they didn't think things were fair. So it might have been what we would see as a simplistic situation where someone took their toy, or someone hit them or stepped on their foot or something like that. Something that we might see as somewhat simplistic, and then use that as a template to talk about what's going on right now.
Okay, and you know, I know there's a lot of kids who may see the pictures and the video out there and they want to protest. They want to be a part of this movement. You know, how do parents respond to that?
Well, so of course that's going to vary from parent to parent, and you always want the children to be safe. You want all of us to be safe. So you want to think about, number one, what is the safest way for them to be active if that is what they want to do. But there are other ways to protest too. We can make statements on our social media. We can write letters that will dump out our feelings, express yourself in written form, because that is oftentimes how we talk to our politicians and send information there. So there are a number of ways that we can protest. It's just what is going to be the most effective for your child, what is going to be safest for your child. Much of that is going to depend on where you are as an individual and how comfortable you are in doing some of these things.
All right, Dr. Nanette Funderburk, we appreciate your time. I feel like I could talk to you forever on this topic. We do have to wrap things up, but if you would like to re-watch this interview, it will be posted on our website along with some other tips.
Well, officers around the nation are showing protesters that they will give their support as well by taking a knee or even hugging protesters.
Yeah, that's right. Phoenix officers in riot gear joined protesters already on their knees. Now, over in Texas, there are about 100 people who were prepared to be arrested for breaking curfew last night, but instead they were approached by officers on bicycles who got off their bikes and took a knee. Protesters rushed in to hug their fellow officers, thanking them and shaking their hands. And then it was a similar sight in Iowa as officers prayed during those protests. And I think it just really goes to show the humanness here really on both sides. I know there are people that, are fighting the oppression and all of this, but not every police officer, has turned a crooked way, and they're there fighting with them alongside.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's nice to see the imagery, and I've seen some of the still images of an officer and a protester. They're either holding hands or they're just touching his arm while they say prayers and that type of thing. It's funny, the emotion, like I'll start to tear up when I see that because it's just such a nice break in the tension. You add this on top of a pandemic, and the tension level in this country is gigantic right now, and it's nice to see something like that to break a little bit.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the COVID-19 because as I was reflecting over the weekend, I was thinking to myself, wow, could anything else happen at this point, And so just to see a couple messages like that, or, yesterday we had that song from that young boy, really just touches my heart.
It's very good. Yeah, we need a break.
We need a break, and we are actually going to a break right now, but continue the conversation with us on our Facebook page. We've been monitoring some of the comments there as well, and we'll continue the conversation that way.
I'm Stacey Spivey, and here's a look at some positive stories trending online in your social snapshot. We start with signs of hope in downtown Greensboro. Take a look at this. A local artist spreading positivity by painting boards on businesses that were vandalized in downtown Greensboro. And here's a look at some of the photos that our Adure Achumba captured yesterday. You can see this one says Black Lives Matter. There were also some other paintings downtown. I want to pull up some of those. Here's a look at some of the paintings that we've seen. You can see peace signs, hearts, and signs that say we stand with you and your life matters. Also, we want you to check out this tweet from Burlington Police. It says someone gave their chief this sign at a protest on Sunday, and he carried it proudly, then brought it to the station so other officers could express their solidarity. And then I'll leave you with this image that I just can't seem to get out of my head today. A little girl with her dad at the protest in Greensboro. The caption says she loves her dad and doesn't want him to be next. And that's a look at your social snapshot.
I'll tell you, it's starting to feel a little more like June outside. It's warmer than it was yesterday, and also that humidity is starting to creep up too. Temperatures in the lower and mid 80s all across the area today. That high pressure starting to slide off the coast. It is still in control of our weather, but as it does slide off the coast, our winds start to turn and come out of the south, which not only brings us warmer air, it also brings us more humid air, and that's going to start our warming trend, also our trend back to more muggy-like weather as we head through the rest of the week. So tonight, a few clouds are around. 65 for the overnight low. It'll be mild. Tomorrow, forecasting our first 90-degree day for the year in the Triad. A few clouds start to build in the afternoon. In fact, it's been 242 days, October 4th of last year, since we hit 90 degrees. And if we do hit 90, it would be the first one for the year. And we keep that warmth around as we head through the rest of the week. Watching Thursday, Friday, Saturday afternoons for some pop-up storms. A little cooler, less muggy by the end of the weekend. Hello, mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi there, hi there. Happy Tuesday. 1, 2, 3, 4, mic.
Hello, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Approaching Wednesday.
Hi, mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Mic check.
This is something we've obviously seen a lot of in downtown. Hey, Alma McCarty out here at the Friendly Center where we had a security man.
Hello, mic check. We are about to head into our second half hour of your 4 to 5. Thanks.
Hello, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. I'm Taheshah Moyes alongside Eric Chilton and Christian Morgan, who are working from home as we continue to practice social distancing. So this 4 to 5, it's an interactive conversation. So join the conversation on our live streams. You can do that by going to the WFMY News 2 Facebook page or check us out on YouTube or on Twitter. All right, let's get a look at some headlines making the rounds today, because in just half an hour, protesters in Winston-Salem will come together. WFMY News 2's Marissa Tansino joins us live from downtown Winston-Salem. And Marissa, what are things looking like there right now?
Some of those protesters already starting to gather here. Take a look behind me at this group. This is on 6th Street in between Liberty and Trade Street. Many people with signs. One says Black Lives Matter, another one, no justice, no peace. And the organizers say the goal here is to stand together, not only with the people here in the community, but with people across the nation. Calvin Pena and Joshua Black brought this event together, and they want everyone to keep in mind that this will be a peaceful protest. Black says they don't plan to leave this area where you see everyone standing because they don't want that to provoke people smashing windows or being destructive. We spoke with them. Take a listen to what he had to say.
This is a peaceful protest. I want people to have an opportunity to voice their opinion and stand with their community, but we're working. The city of Winston-Salem is working.
Now, one of the things he also said to me was he wants to make sure this isn't a one-time thing. He wants people to continue to stand up after the protest. He doesn't want people to just forget about the fight against racial injustice when things seem to fizzle out. Now, more people have shown up here, clearly, within the past half hour. We're going to continue to stay here, keep an eye on things. The protest is going to start at 5 o'clock, and we'll bring things to you when that happens. Back to you guys.
All right, from Winston-Salem to Greensboro, we've been talking about seeing some stores in Friendly Center were boarding up their windows. We saw that happen at the Apple Store and Williams-Sonoma out that way. WFMY News 2's Alma McCarty is out there now. What is the latest, Alma?
Well, Eric, Taheshah, I am again out here at the Friendly Center, where we are seeing some stores being boarded up. Williams-Sonoma right here, obviously the Apple Store right next to it, and 2 stores over, West Elm. All of these stores are boarded up. I went inside, actually, Williams-Sonoma. They referred me to a corporate representative who said that they had no comment at this time as to why they are boarding up. As far as Apple is concerned, we've heard from a recording that this store will be closed until further notice, and we are still working on a statement from West Elm. We also checked in with GPD to see if there was anything planned for around this area, anything that they had heard of in terms of a demonstration or protest. They said that they do not know of anything at this time, but of course we will keep you updated on any information that we get regarding these stores and other activity that is happening in Greensboro. For now, back to y'all in the studio.
So everyone that was arrested for breaking curfew and protesting Monday night, they have been released, and we're talking about the Greensboro area here. We're getting a look at who was arrested and what they were charged with now. Victor Barrios was charged for breaking curfew, and authorities believe he had a weapon of mass destruction on him. That would be a Molotov cocktail. And as far as anybody else concerned, Troy Herring and Jet Chiang were arrested for breaking curfew. Malik Perry Davis was arrested after climbing the Nathaniel Green statue. He was charged with a curfew violation. All, by the way, were released this morning. Protests, for the most part, were peaceful. Protesters gathered outside Greensboro Police Department just after curfew started. That was at 8 o'clock. Some also stood outside the International Civil Rights Center and Museum. Others walked along Elm Street. Police did warn the protesters they were in violation of the curfew, asked them to leave or they would be arrested. The crowd did disperse from the downtown area. 2 were taken into custody, including what we mentioned there, 1 man arrested for climbing the Nathaniel Green statue. Right now, more than ever, we need acts of love and support, don't we? They're unsettling times right now. We've been talking about this for a while, but I found one group of people who took action to heal their community. This is part of my discussion with Crystal Black, Byron Gladden, and Shatrina Smalls.
I want to thank you guys for being with us this morning, Crystal, Byron, and Shatrina. And we're, you guys, I want good news these days, and that's what you guys are all about. After some of the protests turned violent the other night, you guys got together and you did something the next day. Crystal, let's start with you. What did you do and why did you do this?
I think our goal initially was just to show up and do something that was more meaningful than what we saw the night before. And we knew that our city was better than what we saw.
We take care of our own, and our narrative is that this wasn't Greensboro, but Greensboro is going to respond, and we're going to clean up this mess, and we're going to build relationships, and we're going to stay united.
So let's talk about when you guys got there the next day. What did you do? What did you see, and then what did you do?
It was a group of people who just came together and said, we're going to clean this up. And it didn't matter who bought what. Everyone was using everyone's supplies and just trying to make it look presentable and try to get things back to a sense of normalcy.
Business owners must have embraced this and been extremely thankful. What kind of reactions did you get from those guys?
They were a little surprised that we came to help. And it just made such an impact on us and made us feel like what we were doing was appreciated.
All right, guys, I just wanted to say thank you all for being here today. Good news is always good news, especially in tough times. Keep up the good work.
It was interesting. It was really an inspiring conversation with them. And if you stick around, my 2 cents, our sort of commentary at the end of the 4 to 5, I had the duties for that today, and they really inspired me for what I'm going to say about them. I love the fact that it was totally volunteer. There really wasn't a narrative to this at all, and except let's do the right thing and clean things up. Good people there.
Yeah, and Eric, one thing I noticed, after seeing those protests, because my eyes were glued to the screen, I was thinking of those business owners and the power of social media here, because I saw people the next day saying, hey, let's go out there and help those businesses because we know that they're hurting too, so let's do our part. And so that's something that really struck me. What about you, Christian?
Yeah, I tell you what, this is really just a time for us all to come together. We were already in a difficult place anyway with the coronavirus things going on. Now we've added all of this to the mix. So really it's just a time for us to come together, work together. We all have a lot of listening and a lot of learning to do. And I posted this actually earlier on my Facebook page. I said, it cost $0, 0 cents. It cost absolutely nothing to listen and to be kind to people and to be nice to people. And we all need a little reminder every now and then too. So I think this is kind of a way where people are coming together, are helping out each other, are listening to each other, and kind of finding ways for us all, like I said earlier, to come together and work through this and learn a lot about each other too.
Yeah, and I think those are the 3 L's. Learning, loving, and listening is something that we will all take from all of these events happening over the weekend and into this week as well. All right, let's get you caught up on your 4 to 5 roundup right now. Health officials are warning protesters about their risk of getting coronavirus. It's still around because not all protesters are wearing masks or social distancing. Health officials say protests are the best environment for the virus to spread. One Atlanta doctor says if police use tear gas, protesters, of course, more likely to cough, sneeze, or wipe their eyes. The doctor suggests anyone who went to protest should get tested, and if you can't get tested, that doctor says you should quarantine for 14 days. As states move through their reopening phases, new CBS polls show that Americans worry the coronavirus outbreak will get worse. About 54% say they're only going to certain places that are open depending on how safe they appear. More than 6,000 Americans say that reopening will help the economy recover, but 3 to 1 say it will recover slowly. Now, majority of people are still feeling the efforts to curb the outbreak aren't going so well. Across the pond over to Rwanda, they are doing something interesting. They're using 3 anti-epidemic robots to minimize interactions between hospital staff and coronavirus patients. Doctors say the robots cut in-person patient visits in half. Now doctors are only seeing each patient only once or twice a day. Robots will take temperatures, monitor patients, read vitals, and even communicate between the doctors and the patients. Officials say they plan to program bots to do more, like take food trays to patients as well. Rwanda is also using drones to deliver blood and enforce restrictions like stay-at-home orders.
All right, closer to home, Cone Health offering drive-through testing in Rockingham County. By the way, you do not need a doctor's referral or an appointment to get this testing done. Good news here. The testing is on Main Street in Reedsville. It can go Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Appointments are encouraged, by the way, but drive-up and walk-ups are allowed. You do have to wear a mask when you go for testing. The results, they say, should be back in about 3 days.
Well, weather-wise, we've had some really nice weather the last few days, and really today is the last day of that really nice, comfortable weather. We're going to start getting hot and quite muggy too. Temperatures across the area right now as the sun is shining right in on my camera. Sorry about that. We're in the low to mid 80s across the area, but our dew points are starting to creep up too. And if you notice, it has been a breezy day at times. So that really, if you look at our wind map, the winds are really moving out of the south and west now. That's our warm air and our more humid air starting to move in as high pressure has shifted off the coast. And as it does, that will start our warming trend, although that high pressure will stay in control of our weather. We're going to see a return to more summer-like weather as we go through the rest of the week. Our temperatures warming up and also that mugginess coming back. Tonight, we'll be down in the mid-60s. There will be a few clouds around. We are forecasting our first 90-degree day of the year tomorrow with a few clouds in the afternoon. We don't have great chances for rain this week, but we will have to watch Thursday, Friday, and Saturday afternoons for just some pop-up afternoon and evening storms, really getting into that summer-like pattern. After that, our temperatures actually cool back down towards the end of the weekend to more normal-like temperatures. Our normal high is 82 right now, and also we'll get a little bit of a break from that mugginess as well.
Two Wants to Know is looking at state unemployment programs. Here's the problem. At least 9 states have already reached a point where they don't have enough money to pay their unemployment claims and have asked to borrow money from the feds to backfill their own funds. Yes, North Carolina is on that map. And now everyone is saying, okay, what now?
Yeah, because it is certainly not what everyone wants to hear, but my guess this is probably not the first time this has happened.
Absolutely right. Of course, this happened in 2009 as well during the Great Recession. So we're going to take a closer look at the numbers and what happened. Okay, so when a state runs out of money for unemployment, they borrow from the federal unemployment account. Business Insider found that North Carolina borrowed $2.8 billion in 2009 to pay unemployment claims from the Great Recession. How long did it take for the state to pay all that money back, and how did they make up that money? We're going to take a look at that coming up at 5 o'clock. We'll be right back.
Hi there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 minutes.
The European Union's top diplomat is commenting on the death of George Floyd. Foreign Policy Officer Chief Joseph Borrell said that the European Union was shocked by Floyd's death, just like the people of the U.S.
This is an abuse of power, and this has to be denounced, has to be combated in the States and everywhere.
Borrell says Europeans support the right to peaceful protests.
Well, otherwise, we are starting to get warmer. It's starting to feel a little more June-like across the area. Temperatures in the lower and mid-80s right now. We're about 10 to 15 degrees warmer than we were yesterday. Also, it has been a bit breezy at times. Our winds starting to come out of the southwest. That's our warm and more humid air starting to move in. We do have high pressure still in control of our weather, but it has slid off the coast, which is allowing us to get warmer and to get muggier. It's really going to feel like summertime as we get towards the end of the week. So we're really done with those cool nights. 65 for the overnight low tonight, and we are forecasting our first 90-degree day of the year for your Wednesday. Of course, watching the latter half of the week for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday afternoon and evenings for some pop-up showers and storms, a very summer-like pattern. Once we get warm tomorrow and Thursday, our temperatures do back off a little bit, getting closer to normal, which is 82 right now. We'll also lose a little bit of that humidity heading into the end of the weekend and as we get ready to start next week.
Coming up on WFMY News 2 at 5 o'clock, demonstrators are gathering for a peaceful protest in Winston-Salem, which starts in about 10 minutes. We will bring you live coverage of the rally that starts on Trade Street. That's next on WFMY News 2 at 5.
All right, so this is a story of hope that I think we really all need right now. A Florida teen went from being homeless to valedictorian. Martin Folsom lives in Jacksonville. He grew up homeless and spent time in and out of shelters with his mother. Folsom was class president all 4 years of high school. Folsom said even though he's been through some tough times, everything was worth it to end up where he is today. He plans to study accounting at Valdosta State in Georgia, and I wish him all the best and a big congratulations to him, because that is a lot to overcome and to be on top.
It reminds me of that. What was the movie with Will Smith and his son? Do you remember that? That's what it reminds me of.
Me.
I can't. Yes, I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember it. The Pursuit of Happiness. I don't remember which one.
That's it. That's
okay.
it. The Pursuit of Happiness. You're exactly right. No, that's a heck of a story right there. You talk about a senior shout out. That's a pretty big one right there.
Yeah, I really want to give him all the props, because very deserving. And, you know, we do have a lot in our community as well, people who are excelling. We do our senior shout outs here, so we do want to take some time to honor some of our seniors since their graduations, really all the graduations have been affected so much because of this pandemic. So that's why we do those senior shout outs. So let's take a look at some of our local seniors that we are featuring today. Keenan Moore is a senior at the Early College Academy at Dudley High School. He has a 4.0 GPA, inducted into 3 National Honor Societies, football captain for 2 years, member of the track team. He plans to attend UNC Charlotte in the fall. Then we have Caitlin Evers, who's a senior at North Moore High School. Her family says she is a great girl with a heart of gold who will succeed and go far in life. And Sarah Faith Amos is a senior at High Point Central High School. She's a member of the women's tennis and lacrosse teams. She'll be going to East Carolina University in the fall. Her family says they are so proud of her. I want to say big congratulations to the class of 2020. If you want to share your senior shout outs with us, just find the submission form on our website. You can submit a photo of your senior. We're asking to stay clear of professional photos, but be sure to include their name, their school, include a list of their accomplishments, and a personal message with your shout out. We'll be right back.
Have boards on the windows and on the doors. And we just spoke with the guys behind us. They were hired to